they organised to do this television programme, and I think it was only supposed to be for one series.
EasyJet did try to do a cruise line.
They did,
Easy Cruise.
Because it was a very small ship.
Yes, and all orange and white, could you imagine? Security called to his bag that had gone off in security because it was vibrating, had some really huge sex toys. Oh, you can't get away from them on the cruise ship, so that's one thing, isn't it? So, you've got to do your best every time.
The Sail Away Uncensored Cruise Podcast.
Jane, how did Airline happen?
So, well, unbeknown to me at the time, I was supervising check-in, and Stelios was having talks in the background with what was London Weekend Television back in the day. And they organised to do this television programme, and I think it was only supposed to be for one series, and it was sort of, I suppose, free advertising. So, in all fairness to Stelios, excellent marketing strategy, because it really worked for him. And I just got asked, because you are on the front and you're, when the check-in desk closes and people miss their flights and this, that and the other happens, you're the one who's right there. Are you happy them to follow you for a few days? So
what was your initial thought, though?
Well, at first I thought, a few days, yeah, why not? I didn't realise how invasive it would be. I didn't realise what it was going to become. I don't know what I thought. And, so that turned into, 5 years. And it was every shift. You used to do six on 3 or 4, 4 on 4 off, and it was 12 hours, and the camera crew would be waiting when you got in at 6.
Was you close to the camera crew? Did you become friendly with them?
Yeah, because obviously you spent every working minute with them.
Yeah.
More than my staff, to be fair.
Really?
So they were always there, sometimes a bit closer than you wanted them to be, but yeah, they were always there.
Did you ever say to them, back off now?
Yeah, that used to annoy me, because they used to literally get in people's faces rather than stand back and zoom in. And with the passengers, particularly women my age now, it just used to rally them up worse.
Was you ever paid to appear on Airline back when you did it? No.
So before the series happened, we all signed disclaimers.
Right.
So no, not a penny.
Well,
and I know we laugh now. Well, we don't laugh. We sort of fake laugh.
Feel
about
bitter.
it and say, very bitter. That if it had happened now, we'd all be bloody millionaires.
Oh.
I know.
Because I do loads of reruns and everything.
It's on everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've watched every episode over and over
Over
again.
and over
So now
again,
widely, there's quite a few series on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
we'll have them on the background sometimes.
In the last,
just to have a little giggle.
They are kind of a good program to have on in the background. Something you don't need to give your full attention
hearing
to.
You pop off people.
Nothing I'd have on in the background. Listen to my dog.
You have become the face of quite a few memes.
I've seen. I haven't seen many. I've seen my children see more than I do. I expect.
How do you feel about that, though?
Well, I think it's hilarious because they get really embarrassed about it. So, and of course, anything that embarrasses your teenage children is hilarious. But I think, I didn't realise until one of them came home from school, probably 2 years ago now, and said, "Oh my God, Mum, everyone at school's talking about you, and they realise you're our mum, and you're all over TikTok." And I said, "Well, I didn't even know what bloody TikTok was at the time. Do now." Yes, it's mad, isn't it?
I even quote you when I've had a really, really stressful day. I say to you, I'm going to have a hot bath.
I am going home tonight. I'm going to have about 50 fags in the car on the way home. And I'm going to have a nice hot bath.
Do you know what? I can't even remember saying that. I mean, I must have been drunk. I don't remember.
It must have been a really hard shift.
It's the way you're kind of leaning on the desk like you've already had a drink.
I've already sunken into that. I'm done. The 12 hours is over. Yeah. But that would have seemed about right. Just don't remember saying it.
You had a number of funny and awkward interactions with some interesting passengers. What is the one that really stands out for you? I
suppose, when you're being filmed, a lot of the stuff you say under your breath when you're not anywhere near the passenger, like the tosser.
You want to speak to the boss at the airport, yeah? Please. Tosser.
Make it quick. So when they put that in, I thought, I'm going to get in so much trouble. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know how I didn't. But I think the one that really, I suppose, the one guy that got to me was, they edited it out. The things that he called me, the language he called me, F word, C words. I mean, it was disgusting. Yeah. So that was the one that when I walked away, I said, "I'll be as quick as you like if you don't mind."
I'll do as quick as I can if you don't mind. Do you mind ringing me on desk 51?
And I was annoyed with myself for losing my rag. that way because, it never normally got... Because I knew most of all of their problems were never personal to me.
No.
It was something that they'd done incorrectly or something had happened or there was delay. But because he was so vile, but obviously you guys never saw that because they would never have been able to show that.
Was there much that they didn't show?
Yeah, I mean, there was passengers that threw their suitcases at my shins when they didn't want to pay for the excess baggage. The guy that had the security call to his bag that had gone off in security because it was vibrating, had some really huge sex toys and stuff in there. So obviously they can't film in security. So
So what, they just decided not to even mention that.
Well, they weren't allowed to film there, but I came back very flustered and was like, but they couldn't really show that. So so things like that stick out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't.
I wasn't expecting.
Sorry,
that threw me off. That one.
Yeah, so you didn't see a lot.
Do you think that you said that you were never disciplined or anything for the way you spoke to passengers? I mean, it's not really like a hospitality environment. Do you feel like you can get away with a bit more at airports because it's not service,
or not so much now?
Anyway. I don't think. Like I say, I think the times when the two times that I did lose it that was aired was, like I say, one was under my breath actually way from the passenger, and one was literally on the way away from him, so he didn't actually hear it. But I think when you're dealing with someone, and of course you only see 30 seconds to a minute. I might have been with that person for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
When they've missed an earlier flight and they're still waiting for another one and they're still going on. Every time you walk past them, they call you over. So I think, a lot of the time you need to go off and get it off your chest somehow, some way. But no, I never got to say. I think, most of the time I like to think that, we were professional and, it's all about, working, with cruise, everyone's got policies and procedures and you have to uphold those. You can't bend the rules for people. They don't like it. So sometimes you have to be firm,
I think,
but fair.
All of the episodes I've seen where you've had interactions with passengers, I was always with you because some were just so ridiculous, turning up to an airport late and just expecting them to go straight through security and to the gate, and turning up with an expired passport and then giving you and Katrina a hard time.
Yeah, I know.
It just seems... I mean, I can be cantankerous, but I wouldn't...
Don't look at me like that.
I wouldn't start having a go at someone like you if I turned up and my passport was expired.
Most of the time it was their fault. But do you think they ever portrayed you as a bit of a cow? Or...
Yeah, I think so. I think they needed to have different types of characters. Yeah. There was Katrina that was going through her own story, bless her. There was obviously, I think, the guys in Liverpool, who I do think were much sharper than I was face to face. I think mine were more the comments of, it is easy if you get here on time, that I never thought would become a thing. Yeah. But it's actually quite honest.
Yeah.
But I think, if you want someone to help you, the nicer you are to someone, the more you'll get back.
I think Leanne Chung was a lot more feisty than you ever were.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, but she's so lovely.
I think it's that the Liverpudlian accent, and just sometimes it sounds aggressive.
I have just told you that I apologise for that and I am sorry what has happened to you. I totally agree in what you say. I have told you that I can't go over Arthur's head. He has told you the rules and that is nothing more I can do for you. And you just told me to shove my apology up my arse.
But maybe sometimes they got worse treatment from passengers than what we did down south. I don't know. Maybe.
Do you think that with today's reality TV show, most of it's scripted today?
Yeah.
How much of that was scripted and how much of it was real?
Okay. Right. So back in the day of Airline, nothing was scripted. So what you saw was what you got, basically. And I think to film a series of 6 episodes, they would stay with us for a year, 12 hours a day.
That long?
Yeah, a long time. So they were there for a long time to get a very small amount of content. There was lots of great stuff that happened, but that didn't make, someone having a wonderful experience and getting on their flight really easy didn't make good TV, did it? So yeah, they had to film for a long time to get some decent stories, and that was not just at Luton, that was at Liverpool as well. So none of it was scripted, never. they had to be there and they filmed it while it happened. They wouldn't ask any passenger, especially that was losing it, to reiterate what they just said to me.
And they never said it to you, like, "Oh, can you do that again?"
No. Well, I would have told them no. I mean, I always made it very clear that I worked for EasyJet and not for LWT because they didn't pay me, and that was my job. But I think nowadays, everything on the reality shows, literally, well, not everything, but, you know, Towie and all of that, they say that a lot of it is scripted. But that, to me, isn't reality TV then, is it?
And I think that that's why I like Airline so much, because I didn't think it was scripted. That doesn't come as a shock to me. But so much of TV is now. Like, I used to really like The Apprentice when it started because I didn't feel it was as scripted, but now it's so scripted.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
you can kind of guess where the storyline's going to go.
You can, like, Alan Sugar will say a joke and like everyone just
it's already pre-done.
It's not out of nerves for Alan Sugar to not get sacked.
But you said about it before, like, I do think it was very clever marketing by EasyJet because it is all publicity is good publicity, and I think those that watch the programme know that it's about EasyJet. Oh, flight delays. I don't think EasyJet actually came off bad in it at all. I don't think we watched it and thought, oh, I'm not going to go with EasyJet.
No, I don't think so. And to be fair, you know, back in the day when the bookings were done via the telephone, which they were back then, you know, you'd be in the call centre, and from the second the programme was aired, you used to see how many calls were waiting, and it would go off the charts while it was being aired. Oh yeah, it was.
So Stelios must have loved all of it then.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
I don't even think it's a bad product. Like,
no,
if I could choose EasyJet or Ryanair, for example, we personally choose. That's
obviously an ex-EasyJet employee. They all go out.
We did Ryanair, and we paid for premium or whatever it was, or fast embark, whatever it was, to get on quicker and to have overhead luggage. And we got on, and
it was front row seats. So they promoted it as first on, first off,
and you get extra leg room. So I was like, brilliant, get on board. And the air stewardess says to me, no, your bags have to be put at the back of the plane because there's no overhead luggage. I said, right, but I'm at the front. I said, I'm not going to get off first now. I've then got to wait. And she said, tough. And I said, well, what was the point in
paying for premium? And she said, you tell me, this is Ryanair.
And she shrugged her shoulders.
Last on, last off. Because we had to wait for everyone to get off so we could get our bag at the...
So they didn't go and get your bag for you?
No.
But well, you wouldn't get that on EasyJet.
No, but the thing is with EasyJet, I know that they don't portray themselves as a premium product, but they're still friendly. They're still...
I haven't actually had a bad...
I've never had a bad experience with EasyJet.
No, I think when you get on board in EasyJet, I mean, I think all the crew get on extremely well. They call them, anyone that works at EasyJet, immediately you are part of the Orange family, they call it. And you can tell that. I think you can get on a flight straight away and you can feel the atmosphere within the cabin. It's always nice. Yeah. Cabin crew are always fun and get on well with each other, and that then gets portrayed to the passengers, doesn't it?
EasyJet did try to do a cruise line.
They did,
Easy Cruise. I don't know if that was while you was working.
I had just left. Stelios asked me if I was interested.
I was going to say, did that come up?
It did, and I was working at Heathrow at the time, and I sort of at the time sort of said no because I'd sort of left. I was settling down. I was getting married and starting my family, so it didn't fit in. Yeah. But I do think, what if?
I was going to say, what?
Obviously, well, not anymore because it's not there anymore.
no, it didn't. It didn't last long, unfortunately. But so what was it he was trying to get you to do? Like customer service? Because
I don't know. I suppose some sort of managerial role on.
That would have been interesting to see how you would,
especially with your seasickness, because it was a very small.
It was tiny.
Ship.
Yes, and all orange and white. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
I can't remember what he tried to portray it as. Was it like a party cruise?
Yeah. It was like a mini cruise, I suppose, wasn't it, in a way? So it used to do stops off on little islands, and they would go off and party. I might never have come back and got settled down.
And it was kind of like the reverse, because usually in cruising you tend to dock in the day and then sail through the night, but on there it was sail through the day and
party at night.
So it was unusual, but just going back to you, obviously you said about the sex toys. Was there any other shocking incidents that you can recall that would have been cut out?
Well, no, the other shocking one was that guy that got off the aircraft in the morning through arrivals and passed out paralytic on the floor.
I'm sure I remember.
And by Ben down and said, "Are you all right?" It turned out he was paralytic.
Oh, God.
He'd been swigging his own drink on the aircraft. But I called the nurses because at Luton we had a little nurse centre. I got told off for calling him because he was drunk. But he actually went down with a pretty hard bang and hit his head quite hard. So I was quite worried about him. But, take my hat off to him. Fair play for like 8 a.m.
Hardcore.
Blimey. Very hardcore. So that wasn't shown. But then 9/11 wasn't shown.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was around that time, wasn't
it? Yeah, I suppose. And that for all of us was the hardest thing to deal with.
What was it like?
You touched on it, yeah.
It was horrific. I was actually training at the time. I remember being in a training room and my phone, I could hear it, kept buzzing and buzzing. And I kept thinking, people know I'm training. Why do they keep calling me? So we took a break and then I had about 50 missed calls. Then got called over to EasyLand, which is the big orange head office, just literally a few metres away. And I just remember walking into the building and there was like literally about 1,000 people there, staff, all looking at the screens. And it was like you could hear a pin drop. They were just watching the news. And then, of course, we all had to have briefings. And then I suppose for the next 4 or 5 days, it was just changing, adapting to the situation every hour, every 2 hours, depending on what was happening. But I suppose it was a real mixed bag of emotions. It was horrific because obviously it was quite frightening. It was heartbreaking. And then we had a lot of passengers that didn't like the extra security checks. So you would go from complete anger to people deciding getting on the plane and deciding they didn't want to travel and get off. It was a real mixed bag.
I was going to say, did people cancel or at the very last second?
A lot of people cancelled. A lot of people got on and then decided to offload before they got on.
9/11 changed air travel forever. How quickly did it change?
Literally.
So really, next day, what?
I mean, everything was halted, so we had no flights.
Right.
And then from the very next time any flight went out, from security to what was allowed on board, it all changed. And obviously we had to adapt to that. So we were told by, obviously, airlines, CAA, everyone that obviously in the authority that tells us what the new rules are, they were sent through very quickly and no one was allowed to be checked in or anything till all the staff were briefed and they knew what was happening.
Wow. I know you didn't work in the security aspect, but what were passengers' understanding at that point of the
most part? 99%, yes. 1% no. They didn't like the fact that they were searched 4 or 5 times before they got on and had their bags x-rayed more than once. But obviously in a situation like that, you have to do what you have to do to make everyone feel safe.
Yeah, of course.
But some people didn't like it.
I mean, 9/11 is probably the worst thing.
I think it was the worst thing I ever dealt with. Yeah, and I think the worst thing in aviation. But the people that didn't, weren't going to follow by the rules there was no argument. They were offloaded.
Yeah. Did anyone quit their job because they were scared?
Yeah, we did have a couple.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think it was more from the stress and the trauma of dealing with it all and having to really, I suppose, live it through the eyes of an airline. It wasn't great. Yeah.
But you went on until how long? So how long were you?
I left around 2018. So when I left, when everyone saw me leave to the Spice Girls and everyone lining up, I'd actually got, at that point I was an operations manager, and then they asked me to go to various airports and become like what we called the startup manager. So if we got a contract with a new airline, I would go, I would interview all the staff, take on the staff, train the staff and stay there and manage it for around a year till it was successfully running, and then I would go on. So I went from Heathrow to Belfast to Gatwick, Atlantic City, Manchester. Yeah, I went to quite a few airports.
Did you interview people that wanted that job because of the show?
Yes,
loads. Really?
Look, and even people now on TikTok will message me and say, I got into aviation because of you. And I think,
that's lovely.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. Do you still look at it and promote that job to people?
I think it's the best job in the world, honestly, because you get to meet so many people. It's a hard job in the fact that your friends and family have to understand you do shift work, so you don't get to go out on a Friday and Saturday night like you used to, because you're at work at 4 a.m. The next day. But honestly, it's one of the best jobs in the world, 100%.
So you don't regret it? You do it again?
I would go back to it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
One of my next questions was actually going to be, what advice would you give to someone considering a career in aviation?
I would say it's not easy. It's long hours. It's very rewarding though, but it is long hours. The training at the beginning is tough, but it's tough for a reason, because ultimately you are there for people's security, whether you're checking in, boarding or on the aircraft. So there are lots of things you have to learn. So the training is quite hard. There's lots of tests and they're quite high pass marks. But once you get through it, I think if your heart and soul's in it and you're really passionate about it, then you'll do the training and you'll work hard for a few weeks to get the job. But yeah, I just think, go into it and just understand, I suppose, a lot of it is about empathy and customer service. Put yourself in somebody else's position, keeping your mouth shut when you have to and speaking when you should speak, and just. So
what personality would you say you have to do it?
I think you have to be quite thick-skinned. It's not for a quiet mouse, 100%, because, there will be times when there'll be major disruption and you'll have to stand up and tell 150 passengers that they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then pull out the ringleaders and the loud ones separately and talk to them afterwards. You can't do that if you're quiet and shy and retiring. You do need to have a little bit of confidence. But then that does build up, because a lot of people that join are quite quiet, and then the more experience you have, the easier it is. But yeah, and be ready for long days, early finishes, early starts, late finishes, and to be on your feet a lot.
Do you think you could do it?
No.
Why not?
I don't think you could do it.
I think you are pretty admirable to deal with idiots, but I'm just not made for it.
You have to want to work with people. You have to love working with people. So if you don't like people, then it's a definite no.
I could do it. I used to work in Sainsbury's customer service. Used to work in HR, people person. I'd be fine at it. I could bite my tongue. I think would struggle biting your tongue.
I've just always been that sort of person.
So you'd be punched within a week.
Yeah. Even in secondary school, I was always that one. Like, a teacher spoke to me like a piece of shit, I'd turn around and say, "Don't speak to me like that."
Oh no! Oh my God! I never did that.
What do you think the future is for budget airlines? It seems to...
It's changed, isn't it? A lot.
Yeah.
I think now, even though they do advertise cheap flights, and they are cheap flights, but I think now it's not just EasyJet, it's every airline. It's the additions, isn't it? It's you book your flight, but then you've got to pay for your luggage. And if you want seats, you've got to pay for your seats. And everything is an addition nowadays. A lot of it is self-service, which for me now as a passenger is great, because I hate massive queues at check-in. But I do worry that not just aviation, but multiple businesses now are losing the personal touch. And I think, we're in an age now where everything's social media, everyone's on their phones all the time, and the art of communication is being lost gradually, year by year. And I just think it's a shame, really.
I do think it's older generations that suffer as well, because we have to deal with it with with my grandparents all the time, because they'll just constantly be told, "Oh, you need to go online," and they don't have a computer, they don't have a phone. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm all for technology, but I do.
I like having someone there at the check-in gate. When we went away with my mum and dad and your mum and dad, all right, it was easier, but it was still a pain because they didn't know what to do, and we had to do it for them. And it was just really nice that there was someone at the desk that I could have gone, right, plonk you there.
And I think
deal with them.
There are the odd people, but there's never doesn't seem to be enough, does there? And I do think, like, especially like you say, for the older generation, it's all very well pressing buttons and talking to a computer, but actually physically talking to someone and getting your point across what the problem is completely different.
To be honest, if something did go wrong in an airport now, I don't know where I would go to find someone. No. Even when the bagging machine doesn't work, I can never find. I don't know where I would go.
No, and I don't know where you'd find someone that's actually willing to help, because I mean, we've done 27 flights this year.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting.
So yeah,
say it out loud.
God knows what Greta would say. But so yeah, we're at airports quite a lot, and we often say, like, goodness me, you can't even get a smile out of them.
And I'm not talking security, because I know that they're not there to smile, but it's the ones
even at check-in,
they're so miserable these days.
I know. I do feel sorry for them in a way. That I feel like it's like when you go to, like, say, Sainsbury's as well. Everything's done, and they're only called if there's a problem to fix. So nothing. Like the interaction that I had at check-in, like the days that I did check in, if everything was running smoothly and there was a massive queue, I love nothing more than to jump on check-in, because I used to love to have a nice little gossip with the passengers as I was checking in, but get them checked in quickly. Yeah. And it was that interaction that was my favourite thing to do. And they don't get the opportunity to do that now. It's just to fix problems, and they must look at all the systems and think they've done all my friends out of jobs.
Yeah. Well, as well, if your job is to only fix problems and not have that gossip, like you said, it does kind of make your job feel a bit
wary.
Yeah. So you're not going to have that smile. You're not going to have that.
Depressing. Although I would look at it as You know, there's a lot of older generation that need your help because they don't know how to do it. So be the angel and look after them.
Yeah.
Or there's people like me that hand the bag slightly over the edge of the
Do you?
package, so it takes a couple of pounds off if you
Sometimes
think
we have to.
But no, actually,
if you think you're overweight, I just... Is anyone looking? Just hide it over the edge. Yeah, I'm just packing for 5 now. 3 children, 3 girls, 16-year-old and 14-year-old twins.
And they get really embarrassed still.
Do they?
Yes.
I'd be quite proud.
Yeah, we had someone in Lanzarote that walked up to us in the street and went, oh my God. I thought someone had an accident, was looking behind me. And they said, look at my photo taken with you. And one of the twins I heard her go, ooh, and just walked off.
Have you ever had it where people like come up to you and say, I know you from somewhere?
Yeah, but then I get embarrassed because I think, or they say, are you who I think I am? And I think, well, I don't know who you think I am.
Yeah.
That's a really weird question. Like, who the hell do you think I am? And I think there was one lady that she kept going, I said, no, I don't know you. No, I do know you. No, I don't think we've ever met before. No, we have. And then sometimes I'll talk and it will click. Yeah. And then a lot of time, well, there was just this one woman and it didn't click. So the first and only time I said, oh, it might have been, did you ever watch that EasyJet programme, Airline? Sure, I never watched that crap. And walked off. And I thought, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. So I promised myself I would never say that again. So I never did say that again. And then my friend said to me, put them out of their bloody misery. Just tell them. And I'm like, no, because what if it isn't?
Have you ever thought about working in other parts of the travel industry? You didn't fancy cruising or...
Well, I'm a bit afraid of the water.
Are you?
Yeah, well, yeah. I think like when I lived in Lanzarote, when I came back, I drove and got that. I mean, why they dared to call it a mini cruise from Cadiz through the Bay of Biscay to Portsmouth. Right. I mean, seriously. Yeah, it's not a mini cruise at all. But the weather, I think it was December, the weather was so horrific and my cabin was at the front quite low down. So it was just, and all I heard every time it was Dr. Turam-san, so Dr. Turam. And it really, and it frightened me a little bit, if I'm honest.
What a shame.
And then Titanic, obviously. I mean, obviously.
I mean, that was years ago.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I think
my husband's been on a cruise and he says to me, oh my God, Jane, you'd really love it. It's so amazing. And then I look at these programmes on a cruise and I think, oh my God, that looks amazing. I think it's a fear. One of my biggest fears is drowning.
I think you would love a cruise.
I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would.
The thing is, like, all right, you was very unlucky with your with that,
and it wasn't a cruise, so I don't know why.
I was going to say, yeah, with that cruise,
it was just for me to get home.
But I think the big ships. I mean, if you have a good itinerary and don't, you know, you're going to go in calm seas, you cannot feel the motion of the ocean. Really,
no.
Unless you're looking out and you can really, especially
I don't think that even bothers me. I think I'm just like thinking, oh my God, what if
you're going to drown?
Sink?
I mean, you can just wear the life.
Yeah, but
jacket
also
the whole
in shark-infested oceans.
But you did go through the Bay of Biscay at probably the worst time.
I know I did, and I know that. That's like someone saying to me they're frightened to fly, and I'm like, it's fine. Yeah, you're fine. So I know.
Maybe we should get you on a cruise to review it. Wow. I mean, that would be.
Yeah, not the 3 children, but
yeah, no. Maybe we'll do a virgin one. Adults only.
Imagine if I say to my kids, "Dad and I are going on a cruise. We're leaving you here, but bye-bye, girls."
Yeah, I like that. It'd be good to get your honest review.
Oh yes, I mean, why not?
Yeah, novice's first cruise.
Yes,
I like that.
Do you miss working at the airport or with EasyJet?
Yeah, I do miss it. I think what I do now. I work mostly from home. I have my own business. I do cakes, so you're sort of in your 4 walls all the time. Don't speak to many people, so I definitely miss that interaction. I miss the buzz of the job because. I don't think, there was never a day that I didn't want to go to work. And, there's not many jobs that you get that satisfaction from. So I gave it up after I had my first daughter. And, so I do miss it.
Do you keep in touch with anyone that you used to work with on set?
Yes. So via Facebook, I'm still in touch with loads and loads of people from the airport. That's the beauty of Facebook now, isn't it? And social media. But I still... I suppose the one that I'm more in contact with is Katrina.
Now, she was such a sweetie.
Yeah, she's good. Oh, she's just what you saw. She's just honestly,
I feel so
she's
sorry
so
for her
beautiful in and out.
Like in the program, like it showed her health issues, and
she's doing well.
I know. I think
she's doing well. She's got twins like me.
Oh, is she?
I think it was this morning that you did. With her, she said that she'd had cancer like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah. She's just been through it again. Well, last year, but she's. But But she's a fighter. She's so amazing.
But what's incredible about people like her, and you do come across them, is that someone goes through all that shit, but then they still don't lose that bubbly demeanour.
She's a trickster. She was very naughty at work.
Was she?
Oh, yeah, she was a little bugger, but she was funny.
When did she leave?
She left off. Well, I mean, obviously I went on from Luton. She stayed at Luton a bit after me. Because she's gone on to do things. She does a radio show now.
Yeah.
And obviously she became a mum as well. We became a mum within a year of each other.
Oh,
so that was lovely. Yeah, both having twins. So yeah, but she's doing really well.
Good. I'm pleased.
She doesn't look any different.
So with all the disgruntled passengers you had in airports, it's fair to say you get quite a few on cruise ships. How would you advise cruise lines to handle passenger complaints and difficult situations? Because I'd imagine the approach is a bit different.
Well, you can't get away from them on a cruise ship, so that's one thing, isn't it? So you've got to do your best every time. I think it's like with everything. If you're following a policy, you need to give them worst case scenario first that you can't help them with, that they're going to say no to, and then sell them the only option you can give them last in a good way. And then they think you're amazing.
Yeah.
But I think obviously it's just about, stepping back and always let someone get everything off their chest before you interrupt them. Worst case you can.
Yeah. That's a good thing. I didn't think of that, actually.
They will normally go and go and go and go, and then they'll take a breath and sigh. That's normally your turn to talk.
To interject and go, right.
Yeah, it's almost like a volcanic eruption. It needs to come out before, because then there's no listening otherwise. They won't hear what you're saying.
Yeah. It must be hard to bite your tongue, though, in that moment.
It is when you've tried to tell them something and they keep repeating themselves, but, persevere.
The Sail Away Uncensored Cruise Podcast.